And she is still considered in Akron especially to be a very, very important. If you go to Founders Day, they'll have a picture of Bob and a picture of Bill Wilson and a picture of her, because she was so important to the early development of recovery in Akron, Ohio. They held their first meetings in homes, and they hadn't called it AA. They just called it, at first it was an Oxford group meeting. They eventually got big enough that they had a meeting, the very first meeting in Akron, Ohio was at King's School. Although even when it was at King's School, they didn't call it AA. Little local, how many of you know who Archie Trowbridge was? Really? Not, almost nobody. Okay. This is an important guy. I don't remember what his story is called now in the Alcoholics Anonymous book. It used to be called The Man Who Mastered Fear. Archie Trowbridge was from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. He was a shirt salesman. He used to sell dress shirts door to door. He was tremendously shy. He was phobically shy. But he went to Akron, Ohio in November of 1938 and stayed in Bob and Ann's house and with this new movement of recovering people, and got sober and was one of the earlier members of Alcoholics Anonymous. He then came back to Detroit, and despite being, as I say, phobically shy, became the face of Alcoholics Anonymous in Detroit for a long time. In addition to holding meetings and speaking, he would go on the radio. He used to go on the radio station in the Fisher Building on Saturday nights and tell his story. He did all these things that were very, very difficult for him. But and people say, well, how did Alcoholics Anonymous get to Detroit? That's how. Now I will say, people say, well, how did Alcoholics Anonymous get to Ann Arbor? For a long time I thought it came through Archie Trowbridge. Turns out it's not true. Just as an aside, Alcoholics Anonymous came to Ann Arbor because there were two alcoholics in Ann Arbor who had heard about AA, and both of them wrote New York separately. And they both got big books. They both got literature, and they were given each other's names to contact each other. And they did contact each other, and they met, and they started a meeting. And within less than a year, there was a conflict in the group. And half the group went one direction, and half the group went another direction. And they encouraged people not to go to the other group. Right? And there's a running joke in Alcoholics Anonymous that the only thing you need to start an AA meeting is a